Welcome to the Soulful Parenting Podcast, hosted by Ambra Redrick.
Hi, I'm Ambra, and welcome to Black Parenthood Podcast. And when I am not serving as the CEO at Teen Hype, I am talking to amazing parents. And today, I have two amazing parents on my couch, and we're going to chit chat. So, who's here? We have Miss Karissa and LaShawn, two of my close friends, where we're going to talk about what it takes to raise confident, capable children. All right, I'll make y'all think way, way back. Okay, we're ready. Okay. Wait, first, people need to know that you have children, actually. So, tell us who you are and the age of your child.
Okay, so I'm Karissa Lacy McLeish, and my daughter is Peyton, and she is 13.
I'm LaShawn Nichols. My daughter is Lauren. She is 12.
All right, so we are living in the teen age. Yes.
Yes.
Lord.
All right, go back. 13, 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
The first time that you held Lauren and Peyton.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What went through your mind?
I have a distinct memory of being in a wheelchair, going from the labor delivery room to our room and looking down at this little face and knowing for the first time, surely this is why God put me on earth. For that little person.
I'm like, okay. Okay, smart. I know. I'm like, okay. So I'll follow that up. So I remember being in the hospital, and I remember thinking, like, wow, thank God. Like, because I remember feeling her inside of me. And so it's like, okay, so wow, she's finally out. But I also remember thinking she does not have any color. and, and she does not look like me. So it was almost like looking at the time, my husband at the time, I was like, oh, okay. So she's more like a mini him instead of a mini me.
Okay.
She's a mini me now.
Yes, she's a mini me now.
Did you have a moment where you were surprised that they let the baby come home? Like, you have to
With no supervision.
Like, oh, no
were they?
instructions. I'm like, they give you instructions for all kind of medication, but like, it was like they were just going to send her home. Like,
I felt
Yes.
abandoned.
yes, I was like,
wait.
and we went home a
Nope.
day early. So my husband and my girlfriend went back to get her the next day because I had a C-section. So the roads were so rough, it was hard for me to ride in the car. But I just remember thinking, like, y'all just gonna like let her leave, like with us? That was real.
What surprised you during the first couple of years?
I would say the intelligence level. So you know that kids come, they say they're born in the sin, so you do recognize the game that they have. Like, just the little, yes, they do have game. So I remember like one time she wasn't latching because I had a hard time with her latching, and I remember her acting like it was so hard, but then when I got the bottle it was like, oh, she was awake and she was lively. So the game that they have, the level of intelligence, the personality, like they're literally just little human beings.
I definitely remember that. See, I felt like every time she was reaching a new milestone is when I wasn't looking. I'll give you an example. You know, remember you could place them somewhere and they stayed? You didn't have to worry about the work because they couldn't move. They couldn't roll over. All of a sudden, her ability to roll over happened when I was not there and I got there just in time to catch her on the couch. Those things. So I noticed I really needed to pay attention because she was growing and developing so quickly, right?
Did you know what kind of parent you wanted to be? Sometimes, like we either have examples in life, I feel like, who we want to be or who we don't want. Did you think about that when you were caring? Or do you, like, okay, I know what I want?
I so it's not I did not go into parenthood expecting to be a parent. I remember having the conversation with my doctor about this being perimenopausal and what was going to happen for my skin. And she was like, we should do a pregnancy test. So I thought, well, if you want to waste your test. So when she came back and said this test was positive, I was like, wait, what? So I had this conversation. I remember having that conversation with God about, please just let me be a good parent. And I had, I think, really great examples of wonderful parents, completely different parenting styles, but wonderful parents. One who gave me the structure and the goals and the expectations for what I was supposed to be as I was growing up, and one where I was assured that that love was unconditional, and that I was enough. I was enough just because I was here, and that was wonderful. And so I wanted to be for Lauren a combination of both. I wanted to take lessons from both of my parents and be that for her. Give her those guidelines, give her those expectations, but let her know that God placed you here. And when He did, He gave you a purpose. And it's my job to help you grow into that purpose. So when I see her doing things that feel like a little bit left of right, I remind her back to that goal. Remember, you were here for a purpose. My job is to make sure that you get to that purpose before you're 18, and I will not show up to heaven having failed that particular assignment. But she'll tell you, and I'm 100% serious about it. I will not.
I get in trouble on my watch.
Yes, not on my watch.
That was a deep answer. I'm like, okay, so I think as a teenager, I just kept telling myself I will not be my mother when I become a parent. I think, I think every teenager thinks that. And then when I finally became a parent, I was like, well, there are a lot of things that I want to do just like my mother. So it's kind of like that switch comes on in you. And it's like, okay, so all the things that I thought was horrible or I thought that she was crazy, it's like you now have this different angle, this different view. So you can understand why they did the things they did, why they said the things they did. And it's like it finally all kind of makes sense. But I did want a mixture. There were some ladies in my church, some of my neighbors. There was a mixture of different women that I wanted to take things from. Like specifically remember one of my girlfriend's mother. She was my pastor's daughter-in-law. And she was always so sweet. And she would say, like if we saw a homeless person, she would say, oh, bless their heart. And when I was a kid, I was like, why is she always saying bless their heart? Like they need to get a job or they need this. But the older I got, I understood. And now when I see, a homeless person or something, I'm like, oh, bless their heart. Or so I could really see the compassion in her and I could understand why she was always so concerned about just really everyone else in the world. So I just wanted to become a mixture of the mothers that I saw. Mothers, teachers, but most of all, like my mother.
So LaShawn started it. What do you think the job is here? And that's tricky.
First of all, you have to teach your kids. I think the most important thing is to teach them to be God-fearing. Mm-hmm. I think that's the number one thing. But to guide them, build their self-esteem, guide their education, plant seeds. I mean, it's like so many things. Give them experiences with education and travel and hands-on things. I mean, there's so many things, but I think if you start with God-fearing, then other things kind of fall in place.
Yeah. So I told you I felt like that was my mission, right? Mm-hmm. To deliver this little child to adulthood unscathed, as unscathed as she can be in this world. That I feel like there's always these arrows and snares trying to entrap our children. That every time you see on the news something's happened with the baby, it's gone left or right. And I feel now, to your point about how you look at things differently as you get older, that person wasn't bad, but that we as a community didn't do our job to sort of wrap our arms around them and protect them from that thing. Mm-hmm. And so as parents, I feel like it's our job to sort of be enough. In the beginning, I needed to be enough of a protector so that she could explore, but not get hurt. Now, as she gets older, I need to be enough of a guide and an advisor so that she's trusting in her own ability to make decisions and her own ability to sort of stretch and know that she can handle things. And if for any reason that she feels like she can't, to be there as that safety net, to know that she can always come back and there's always going to be a hug and an understanding arm that says, I know we all make mistakes. Let's move forward. Let's think about how we can move forward together. That's what
Is there something that you believe? So I was listening to another podcast really, and the question came up about what makes a good parent. And I was thinking deeply about like what's that thing? And I sometimes struggle with trying to figure out like, is there one thing? And one of the words that came up was sturdy, but I like the word grounded better. I feel like you have to be really, really grounded. Like if you have a lot going on in life, and then of course you have a young person, a baby, it's just a lot going on here. What is there a word or something that comes up when you think about a good parent?
I think push, but don't allow them to fall.
That's nice.
I mean, and we do. And you do want them to fall, but not completely. Like, you know
you
what I
want them
mean?
to be resilient. You want
Yes.
them to know that if they fall, you can get back up. That was always my speech. You know, when they're little and they're toddlers and they fall down and they're looking to you for the reaction. So my reaction is always, let's get back up. That's why you fall, to learn that you can get back up.
Yeah.
So it's that. Yeah, I agree.
So, you know, we have lots of conversations about parenting, and some of those conversations about some parents being more strict than others. We'll leave you guys to figure out who's who. But when you think about discipline, what kind of disciplinarians are you? Chris,
That's a very good question. Especially if my students see this. I think I am, well, I'll just be honest, out of all of us, I'm the firmest. And I think it is partially because I teach high school. And I remind her a lot of times, like, and she's like, well, sometimes I just wanted you to give me a hug. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Because a lot of times I'm trying to solve the problem, or I'm still trying to push her, but, not let her fall. But I am, I'm about business. I'm about discipline. I'm about just really handling your business. Like, I am a firm disciplinarian, and I believe it comes from my mother. My mother was, and I think I may be a little softer than she is because I can be. Because she had, I have an older brother who's 2 years older, and I have a brother who's 15 years younger. So raising boys and raising them by yourself is a totally different thing than me with a 13-year-old. So I do think that I get a chance to be softer, but I think there are even times where she does things that I'm like, so let me peep the game in that. And then I'm like, oh, she doesn't even have that. But I'm still in my, but I'm in my work mindset because I've worked in urban education for so many years that I'm always trying to figure out, like, okay, so what's the angle? What are they trying to teach me without teaching it to me? So my mind goes there.
Well, I suppose if you're the first one, I'm the one who's not. My is a very
Yes.
I'm the SPB. Okay, so 2 things. One, there has to be balance. And at my house, there's a person who says no all the time. Like the auto default answer is no. And for the life of me, because I did not grow up in a no household, I'm an only child. I'm raising an only child. There was no one else's needs to consider and balance. And so my perspective is just different. As the middle child, my husband has a very different perspective. And so, like I said, his default, it's not always no, but mostly it's no. So when we hear yes, both Lauren and I are like, what? Well, okay. Good for us. We scored. We got to win. So you have to have balance. So that's why I tend to be more of a yes. But in general, I don't believe that there needs to be a no unless there is a reason for a no, right? So it's going to hurt you. It is a poor use of money. And this is an opportunity for us to learn about money. I gave you the example of the mommy, I need a list of things from Target. There were 6 items, and I kid you not, they were about $125 once I started to add them up, one of which was a $14 stick of deodorant. That was a no. That was an easy no. I mean, really, the support. $15 a stick of deodorant. So that was the conversation that we need to have. That's a no. But in general, if it's an experience that you want and I can afford it for you, I'm going to try it. Or if I can't afford it for you, we'll have a conversation with that daddy who's all about the no's, about giving you that opportunity. So no, I think in general, it's a yes for me. I know. And you, by the way, you are softer. I just don't know. It's a random no. It's like today the number's 5 on the fifth request. It's going to be a no.
It's random.
Do you pick the number in the morning? Do you see the number in your
It
head?
just depends. Like if it's a only child kind of spoiled moment, sometimes I'm like,
Can we have
no.
a conversation about the only child kind of spoiled moments? Because I don't think that those actually exist. Please tell me some more. It's not my podcast. Tell me some more.
No.
I don't, as an only child.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What are only child spoiled moments? But there are just times that it's just like where it's just all about her and her needs, and not that it can't be, but sometimes it's like it's bigger than that. And as the middle child, that was the baby for 15 years. Sometimes we just have to broaden our horizon. And I do want her to be balanced. So sometimes I feel like she only sees things from one perspective. And I have to remind her of, well, I've taught kids that have this situation. I teach kids that are in this situation. So it's like sometimes I just have to bring it into, she just has to look at kind of everything at times. I mean, but experiences, yes. That's high on the list.
I know it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's vacation. Yeah, I know it is. Experiences are high on the list, but the other part of it is she's seen me parent on vacation. It's vacation. Wait, why is there a no on vacation? It's vacation.
There's still a time for a yes. And still a time for a no.
I mean, unless it's utterly ridiculous.
It's still a time for a yes. Ice cream 5 times a day. You can still get sick.
Vacation.
So
Vacation. Yes.
How do we not raise entitled kids?
oh, Jesus. So that's where I'm saying the balance.
Things have changed.
Yeah.
Every parent, I think, dreams that their child be a little better than them.
Yeah.
That will give them something that we didn't get. How do we do that in a way that allows a child to be well-rounded?
That's the balance. Like, remember when we took the kids to the dorm in Michigan State and Peyton was like, oh, I thought this was going to look like Kennedy's room. Well, Kennedy was a senior when you went to her apartment at Michigan State. And it's like, oh, okay, I get that you thought that would be what you would stay in for 3 days in the summer. However, this is about learning about the dorms. That was an apartment on campus. Like, sometimes she just has these thought processes of, like, things should be great and grand just because. And I'm like, well, no, things are great and grand when you become a senior and you've earned the right to be in that apartment. You're going to be in a freshman dorm, ma'am. And it's probably not going to have air. And it's going to have this little suite and this little bunk bed, So it's like sometimes I feel like I have to bring her down. So she's not entitled.
No, I won't let it stand. No. Mm-mm. Because her expectations are set by the experiences she's had. And the person who shapes experiences she's had is... Okay.
Yes.
I will give you an example. It was a birthday party. For the birthday party, where did they go?
For her birthday?
Yes. Not the last one, the one before.
Where did they go?
They went to a Broadway show here in Detroit. And how did they arrive?
Oh, okay. No, that one wasn't on me. So that was my... I was like, hold up. I had to think about it. Let me defend myself.
Defend away.
That was my Michigan mother. And she had
First, you have to answer the question.
idea. Okay, I'll take it back. So they went to see The Lion King in a limo, but it was February. I don't know if that helped. I don't know if that helps. Yeah, I was like, hold on. So it was about the experience of, like going to a Broadway show, although it was downtown Detroit.
Let me
It was not my idea to do the limo. However, when it was suggested, I thought it was a cool idea.
So for her birthday,
and I ran with it.
For her birthday, she got to bring special friends, to go see a Broadway show.
Yeah.
There was a bag. The bag had the child's name on it. And it wasn't like somebody went and lovingly put letters. This was a crafted printed bag with their name.
They were. But it was only 3 of them.
But my point is the expectations.
It is. So that's the balance. So it's like, well, I'll give you this experience, but when we get home, you need to clean your room. So it's like, give a little, take a little, push, pull.
I don't know. I struggle with this one a lot. First, because, as you know, I just came from a weekend of being surrounded by teenagers who have had similar experiences. And so it was clear to me that we're not all finding that balance. We're not all finding that we all have raised children. To your point, perhaps it started with good intentions that we want them to have a different experience that we had or that our parents had. And we want them to come into the world with that full expectation that other ethnicities have enjoyed in America, to say, this is what I should expect and this is how I should be treated. And these are the expectations I have, and please meet them. Because there are lots of people who experience the world just that way. But on the receiving end of trying to provide that service, could we also have some civility and have it balanced with understanding and patience? And that it's a really good question. How to raise that child so that they have that balance. I like what you're saying, that you have to have clear expectations, that you have to have goals, that you have to have responsibilities, chores, that you have to have goals you're saving for. I'm a lot of yes, but we just recently opened a bank account and I labeled it something ridiculous she asked me for. And I was like, okay, I know how to fix this. So I put it as a savings line on the bank account that she has. So she asked me, what is this line? I said, well, if you want that thing, I suggest you start funding it.
Yeah, start saving.
We need to have balance. So I don't say no. I just say, find a way to obtain that thing you want.
So do you think that we should create situations or allow our kids to struggle?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me consider the question. Yes. We are improved by our struggle.
Right.
Think about yourself as an individual. You look back on the things that you struggled through and how much stronger and better you were on the other side. I do believe that we might be raising a generation of individuals who lack that resilience, who lack that stick-to-itness. In our efforts to give them everything that we did not have, we may be ruining them. I like the example of the crumpled butterfly. You've heard the example? Okay. So when butterflies are coming out of that chrysalis, they have to fight. They have to struggle. And the struggle is pushing the fluids out of their body. If they do not do that, they do not have the ability, that muscles, to grow and be a butterfly. My daughter was a Girl Scout and they had them grow butterflies from caterpillars. We forgot to take out of the container. So by the time, because I don't like bugs, by the time I got them out of the container, it was the saddest thing. They were crumpled butterflies and their little wings were just underdeveloped. And you can't let them out into nature because you then propagate crumpled butterflies. So if we think about how we're raising our children and the experiences we need to allow them to go through so that they can struggle, it will actually help them. I used to love that song, Black Butterfly. I want my daughter to soar. So there's some things that I'm just going to have to watch. Right now, I'm in a preparation phase, but there will come a time where I'm just going to take my hands off and let you do what you need to do so that you can grow those muscles, stretch those wings. Standing back, yes, it is. But I like to help, but you can help someone to their detriment, right? And so that's why I'm lucky. I have Brandon who will strain me because he's like, no, she can do it. She can work for it. I think it's having that balance.
So, yes, I do think that they should struggle. And I do think that there should be scenarios that we probably create where they struggle. We have a rule at home that you can't miss any assignments. Like, as long as you do your best and you don't miss any assignments, then I'm happy and I'm proud of you. And I teach her that because I see so often with my students that when they miss assignments, even though we go over average and grades, because in their mind, they're like, well, I don't remember how to average. They forget all this vocabulary because the computers do it, and so it's like, Yes, but I need you all to see the impact and understand the impact of what missing an assignment is. And I need you all to understand that if you don't pay your electric bill, that you're going to be without lights. And I need you to understand, so it's like I'm giving them all these, I'm pushing them like every day, and I'm pushing them um to meet deadlines, and I'm pushing them academically. I'm pushing them in every aspect, and I'm trying to make sure that I do the same with her also. Um so yes, they need to fail, because failure is when you learn, you grow from mistakes. You learn from your mistakes. And even though I said we push and we don't want them to fall, and it's like, well, you can probably fall, just not fall flat on your face. How about that? I think that's a better one. Like, I'll be here to help you, but I need you to know that you need to get up. And there have been times that she has come home and or she cried, or I'm picking her up and she's crying about something, and I'm like, stop. Like, you get to cry at home. You wipe your face off, you stand up. And I do feel like, because she goes to school with people who have the privilege of maybe crying and getting a chance to be a victim, that sometimes that's been hard for her to understand. But I need her to know that no one in the world is going to give a damn. The expectation is for you to figure it out. The expectation is for you to get up and keep going. And so I do think that we're raising a generation of coddled children. I feel like they're smarter but weaker. And dear God, they make me nervous. They do. They really make me nervous. Because they're not, I just completed my 23rd year. They're not the same kids that I used to teach when I started out.
That's not the same world, though.
No, it's not the same world. And I know we focus more on mental health and things of that sort, which is not that I'm against, but I think sometimes we're giving kids, that we're handicapping kids.
Crumple wings.
Yes, crumple wings.
How do you know when to intervene? How do you know when they've struggled enough?
Oh, well, I'll give you an example of, I think they're all impacted by COVID, right? And having been home.
Mm-hmm.
But I intervened when I watched the impact manifest in her body. Her skin started to break out. She was biting her nails. Clearly something was going on with her dynamic at school, with her friends. And so the mother bear in me reared up before I knew it. And I stepped in and I intervened. And then we had to make a school change.
Okay.
That's when I knew, when I can see it manifesting in her body and her psyche, that I needed to step in. Because what I don't want, and I think it's been really made clear, especially here in Michigan, parents have an accountability to understand what's happening with their children and to intervene when they see those things that could lead to further mental health damage. And if we don't step in, then what happens? But I do have real conversation. That was when she was in the 4th grade. Now that she's in the 6th grade, and she was in a new situation where she's one of 2 brown people in the classroom. We had to have the conversation about how you show up when somebody is taunting you. How do you show up when someone's taunting you and you're not in the majority? What kind of fun can you have with your friends who are non-minority people? And what will happen if you are caught in the shenanigans that's happening? And we had to have, that was a hard conversation about, you're different. The world is going to treat you differently. I want you to have the same expectations. I want you to feel like you have ownership. At the same time, if something happens to you, no one's going to be as understanding with you as they will with your friend who does not look like you in that suburb. It's just not going to be the same. So it's the real talk intervention there.
So,
go ahead. No. Well, I was thinking, okay, so as far as intervening, so there have been times where I've tried to teach her to clap back. I have not been very successful.
It's because of their schools.
Yeah, I'm like, Yes, if you have a workshop on how to clap, come back to us. I'm like,
Theory.
because I'm like, I teach high school. I've been teaching high school a long time. I'm like, girl, why didn't you say like this?
Because of
Or
how she was raised and where she went to school.
exactly, she just doesn't. She's like, well, I didn't hurt their feelings, and I'm like, well, that's what clapping back.
I was like, it's not about hurting their feelings. It's about teaching them to text somebody else next time. Don't pick me again.
So I'm like, oh,
Let them know.
but there have been times, I guess, with when I felt that she was insecure about her body. I really had to step in. I think I called you all and I'm texting and I'm like, I'm buying these books about affirmations and young Black women, and I'm pulling up pictures of Serena and Beyonce, and I'm like, girl, what I wouldn't do for your body right now. But I think is when you see that they're about to land flat on their face is when you step in. And I guess when you see, like, when you start to concern yourself, like, could this go bad? You know what I mean? Like, could this start to go the other way? Because I do have children who are cutters. I know children, none of my children specifically have committed suicide, but there have been children in the building that have committed suicide. So there's things that it's like, I want to make sure we stop and get help or I assist before anything goes that far. So it's another one of those things where I'm always thinking about the kids at work, and so I know sometimes she probably feels like, Lord have mercy, like this lady, but it's never just about this situation, because it's like I'm looking at all these other kids and what happened to them and where did it go wrong and things of that sort. So
that makes me think about children being prepared and the conversations we had. So I have a few questions about conversations, which you teed up perfectly, LaShawn. What did you tell your baby?
About racism? Oh, Lord.
That you can this question I get that moment.
Well, because our particular family situation is different,
Mhm.
right? And so I grew up in Detroit when Detroit was a chocolate city. Detroit is not a chocolate city right now, right? It's not the same as it was when I was growing up. Lauren goes to school in Livonia. Livonia was created specifically to counteract the migration of Black people from the South. So it's a whole different mentality that she's dealing with at school. But then at home, at major holidays, at family celebrations, she's in a situation where she's seeing people who do not look like her, who are loving on her and being receptive to her. So it's a fine line that we walk in our household. But what I did tell her was, as I told you at the store, she wanted to go shopping for the first time. Talk about stepping back and just making yourself do it. I let her go to the mall to go see a movie with her friends after I downloaded Life 360. So I can watch that little dot move through the mall. I did. I watched Little Dot move through the mall, and I said, okay, I'm going to let her do it. And I said at the Panera, and it said that we were never more than 1.2 miles from each other. But she was there by herself because I thought, well, they're walking around the store. I know what happens when I'm in the store. I remember having that conversation. She likes to put her hands in her pocket in her hoodie. And whenever we go shopping this summer, I'm like, stop doing that. You cannot put your hands in your pockets when you're walking through aisles. But why? I'm not doing anything. I said, but why is because somebody could think you're doing something. And if there are many a child who are not on earth anymore because someone thought they were doing something they were not. And that is what I had to tell her. And then we started to say their names. And I felt really badly doing that to her because she's only 12 at the time we're having the conversation. She's 10, she's 8, she's 10, constantly hands in her pockets, hands out of her pockets. Just like, I need for you to understand, going back to my mission, I need to deliver you there safe. There are a lot of mothers who wish that they could go back and have that conversation about hands in your pocket or taking down a hoodie that you should perfectly be able to wear. But right now, because somebody else was afraid, because somebody else placed more value on merchandise than they did on someone's life, they're not here.
So we've had conversations about racism probably from a lot of different angles, being that we do live, we call our neighborhood like United Nations. So it's like a little bit of everybody. But some of it has come up. I was just really thinking, like, with some of the little boys that maybe she liked them or they liked her. And I'm like, alrighty, well, let me explain how this is going to look, how this is going to go. He can't bring you home. And anyone that can't bring you home, you can't bring them home. Like that works both ways. But so we've talked about different religious rules that different cultures may have, different so we've talked about it, from a lot of different angles. I think it's been rough at times because she is sensitive and loving and doesn't want to hurt people's feelings, and I've had to really break it down because I have friends of all colors, all races. Our neighbors are all colors, all races. And it's like, but you need to look at the individual and know that every individual is not for you. You know what I mean? Like, and it has helped with school and, events in life where it's pushed the conversation more. But it is a very difficult situation and subject. And it's just a continuous thing too. Until I know when it's, time for driving, we'll have more conversations when it's, so it's like there's always these teachable moments where you have to pause and say, okay, well, let me explain this to you. And then being that I'm from the South, like I'll tell her, like, growing up, this is a town we would not have stopped in for gas. We would keep going, or growing up, that city, this occurred as far as like maybe Jasper, with the hanging or different things like that. So it's like, or lynching. So it's like, it's a continuous thing, and it's a touchy subject. And I think it's hurtful at times to like kind of relive it as a parent, but you're having to relive it to try to explain it to them and break it down.
It's hurtful because I also feel like I'm making her too adult too fast. Like I want to protect that innocence, right?
Yeah.
That sweetness that Peyton has. I want them to be able to keep it as long as possible. But the simple fact of the matter is you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And it is sad that brown and black children have to grow up, in my opinion, much faster, be more adult, be more mature than anybody else their age. I have a cousin who talks about what happens in stores when you go into a store and you see a white child and you see a child who is African American or Hispanic. You see that child will sit. And they keep them, usually the mother's keeping them close by. And just because, again, hands in pockets, you can't have that thing happen. Yet the other child is allowed to go and explore. And that exploration is so meaningful in terms of their development and knowing that the world is actually theirs. And we're teaching them quite early, this world was not made for you. There are a different set of rules by which you have to live. And what does that do to the child's psyche, right? I'm still trying to prepare that young girl who's going to go and fly. How do I do that when I have to also teach her the rules by which we have to live? I guess the question is, do we still have to live that way? But every day I see the news and I'm reminded, oh, girl, yeah, you do. We still have to live that way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Sexual.
I'm like, okay.
It'll take a moment.
I'm like, okay.
Which with girls, it's different and a process. And what do we say?
So
You can go first.
my approach to everything sexual was, the best advice I was given was answer the question when they ask. So any question that she asked, I tried to answer to the best of my ability when she asked it in a way that she could understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they're 3 and they're asking about how babies are made, you maybe don't go into all of the scientific detail of what's required for a baby to come to the earth, but I sure tried. And then she looked at me and I was like, oh, Lauren, I'm sorry. And I should explain, I was a bio major, so that's what came to my head first.
Mm-hmm.
She asked the question. So then I said, part of mom and a part of dad come together, and then you're born. And then when I have the language that will help you understand, we're going to revisit this conversation. Can we do that? And she said, she was so sweet. Yes, mommy. Okay. Do you understand? I said, okay, we'll revisit it. And so we just kept revisiting those conversations until she had understanding and I had language that could meet in the middle and they could be really explicit about what was happening, both biologically and physically. And then once I decided, this is like the conscious choice you make. My mother gave me a book. She interrupted a TV show that I was watching, handed me a cartoon book, and said, if you have any questions, come find me.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so I did not want to do that with my daughter. I wanted her to know she could always, what that taught me was she wants me to know and she don't want to talk about it, right? I wanted her to know that anything she wanted to talk to me about, I'm here for it. I'm here to help for any question you have. I'm here, I'm listening, I'm understanding. Luckily for me, she's more of an athlete right now, but that brings a different set of problems. She doesn't want to develop, right? Because for her, it means something different from an athletic perspective. But she likes to do the TikTok dances, and everything is a gyration, a bump, and so we make light of it and laugh. But I keep looking, going, oh, this is what we're doing now. This is it. Everything's a shaking, and it doesn't mean anything to her right now. It's not associated with anything sexual. It's just a dance, I think.
It is. It is. So I think we started with maybe some books originally. I definitely use correct terminology, being a science teacher. But there is the high school teacher in me also. So there are times that there are questions that she has asked me that it's like, all right, well, let me explain to you what oral sex is. Or, okay, well, let me, so I just do it. And I think maybe practicing at work, I say practicing, I think it was like God giving me practice lessons before it was, my own child. But if she asks or if it pops up on TV, we have read different books, different pamphlets. Of course, like when it's like about cycles, menstruation cycle, it's just like all of that has just made these opportunities for us to go deeper and deeper. And now when we're watching TV, it's like the basic shows have all these conversations that need to be had. They may make out, if that's, the word, or there may be homosexual couples, or there may be, so it's like, oh, okay, well, here we go again. So it's never like any peace in the matter. It's something that's always coming up and always having to be addressed. And I can tell now that she's still like, oh, oh, that's disgusting, or who would want to do that? Or, oh, why would they say that? And then
You feel that relief.
but then I'm looking at her body and I'm like, oh, Jesus. So then I know one time we were at Target and these guys she was on the aisle next to me, and she asked to go over there, but then these guys tried to talk to her, as they were walking by, and she ran back to me, and I was like, oh gosh, because they don't see, this. And I think she was maybe 12 at the time. I was like, they don't know that she's totally clueless, but I'm like, but her body is like ideal, and so I'm like, okay, I just know it's going to continue to be an issue, and I'm trying to like control it a little bit as far as I'm like, who brought those shorts? Like, did your daddy buy those shorts? Who bought those shorts? And I'm like, where did these shorts come from? And she's like, no, you bought these. Remember, these came from Old Navy. And I'm like, damn, did I buy those shorts? I'm like, did you roll those shorts up? And so, yeah. And then
when you bought them, they probably didn't look like that.
Yeah. But then because I teach high school, again, I know how my boys would respond, and so I'm like, we just have to find
That is
the
a hard one.
balance. It's a
Because again, she has no interest, but I want her when she becomes a woman and is of interest to really fully own that, which is different than the way that I was raised. And striking that balance again, I feel like is difficult, right? Because you mentioned earlier that you want your child to be God-fearing. I teach Sunday school, so I want them to be whole individuals too with spirituality. At the same time, I understand that she's human and teenagers have hormones. If I didn't learn that this weekend, real quick, that they do, and so wanting her as a young woman to grow and make her own decisions and feel fully that she can own her person, own her body, make her decisions for herself, and not to please somebody else is really important to me as well.
You know, what age will allow your daughters to date?
I have just 16 in my head. We've had that conversation because some of her friends have boyfriends. And I'm like, well, I'm asking questions. So, well, what makes them their boyfriend? Or did they go on dates? Or did they, so I'm really trying to ask the questions. And this middle school where they just decided they were boyfriend and girlfriend. No one has visited anyone's house. No one has gone on dates. So she's asked me, like, well, what age do you think that I could have a boyfriend? I was like, probably 16. And, they would need to like come over so I could visit, get to know them. And sometimes I really wonder, like, what will this first boy look like? So I don't know if I'm convinced on what he will look like at this point.
Does it really matter?
It will matter. It will.
The
Yes
reason I'm
and no.
asking is because we joke about post-racial, but I feel like we're raising this generation of kids who might actually.
Well, I'll tell you why it matters. Because there are some people that she can't go to their house. So I think in that sense it matters. That's why I'm already trying to plant the seed of, just because you all are friends now, you all could never date or you all could never, it's not acceptable in their culture or in their religion so I think from that sense it matters because I don't need, what we say, we don't want them to be practice. Like, no
100%.
practice, no secrets, no, so some of it does matter.
No practice.
It doesn't matter necessarily from who the person is, as long as they're loving, but as far as their religion or their beliefs, it matters.
Proud parent moments. When did you know you was getting down? That's it.
It's my turn.
Okay, so the first time we were in Kentucky, just across the border, and she was 4, little, and she's on the playground, and somebody said stupid. Some little boy, bigger boy, was bullying other kids on the playground. She looked at him with her full self and she said, "Don't say stupid. Nobody is stupid." And she continued to play on the playground like she owned the world. And I was like, and that's what I'm raising right there. If you can keep that, we're all good.
So I think it was probably in preschool when the preschool teachers were like, oh my gosh, she says thank you. And she says please. And it was just like all those little things that they were trying to teach the kids to do. They just kept saying, she already knows this and she's so nice and she's so sweet. So that was probably like my first clue. And
it's a good one when nobody knows. Peyton's probably his way at home. Lauren's not that way at home. So when people go out with her and they don't mind going with her again, I'm like, at least she knows how to act. She knows how to do it. Peyton's always though.
Thank you. So I think that was like the first clue. And one of the teachers asked me, like, what is your formula? Like, how did you do this? And I told her, I said, I just keep thinking of what I don't like to see in other people's children. So I just think like these are 11th graders or these are 10th graders. And I hate this about these kids. You know what I mean? Like I hate that they don't, so just whatever I see or have seen that I don't like or that I despise, I'm like, we're not doing that. So, and I even remember when it was like reading, I remember some of the kids had very low reading scores, and I was like, oh gosh, so I was listening to classical music when I was pregnant. I was reading to her in the womb. We did Baby Can Read. At school, she was in phonics. This was a kindergarten, so it was like all of these things that I was like, oh gosh. So it's like, it's good when you see mistakes of other parents, because it's like, we're not repeating that one. Like we're not doing that. So
Yeah.
That's Peyton and Lauren Thompson.
Okay, so one thing she has taught me is definitely unconditional love. Even though you see it in your parents, you don't always believe it, especially as a kid, because you're like, she's crazy. She did this. But I keep pictures of her when she was a baby on my desk at work to remind me of the love I felt when she was, first born and this baby, and to help me remember that my kids' parents felt that way about them too. So, so I can do let's remind everybody there's still a blessing. But even when I make mistakes, or when her dad makes mistakes, or different things, is it's the unconditional love that she has for us too. That's really, and for the world too. And I'm like, girl, don't forgive her. In my mind, that's what I'm thinking. But there was this little girl in kindergarten that, I won't say her name, but I was like, I'm going to be that parent, like I'm going to that playground. And I was like, I could just mesh that little girl. That was my thought. I think her dad had a similar thought, because he had talked about going to the playground too. But I remember, like, maybe in the 3rd grade, she was telling me that she was playing with the little girl at recess. And I was like, the little girl, this same little. And she was like, yeah. And I said, well, why would you play with her? Didn't she hurt your feelings? And, oh, yes, mommy, but she's gotten better. And she just had a rough time. I was like, here we go. But the unconditional love that she has for others, just unconditional love. And I'm like, whoo, well, if that ain't God, because I wouldn't have been as forgiving of the little girl.
I think that's just Peyton. She's just sweet on the inside.
Yeah.
Some
say.
I believe that she did.
She did. Before the world
She
got
got
a hold of me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. That's who I am at the core.
So I think what Lauren's taught me is it's going to be okay. I still remember, like I said, when they sent her home, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this baby? What? Nobody's coming? Like, are they going to visit? Do we get some home visits for the first 2 weeks? None of that. She taught me it's going to be okay. And that she's so much stronger than I think that she is, both mentally, spiritually, and physically, quite honestly. She's a gymnast.
Right.
But every time that we encounter something that's difficult, she just sort of broadens her shoulders and she goes forward. I told you we were bullied. She stayed in that class, and I told you that her mother stepped in and handled it. That might have been embarrassing for her, but she went back to school the next day. I think when I realized that she could handle things on her own, it made me really proud. It used to be when she was little, she would come and say, Mommy, you need to talk to him. Remember, her role as the protector. And now it's, Mommy, this is what happened, and this is how I handled it. That makes me very proud. And it taught me she's going to be okay. Just stay the course. It's going to be okay. Yeah.
All right. The lessons. Ready for some rapid fire questions?
Okay.
Advice. The best advice that you have gotten, solicited or unsolicited, about parenting.
Keep the meat, spit out the bones. Have you ever heard that?
I have heard
My
that.
pediatrician told me that. She said, everybody is going to come to you with parenting advice. Take the meat, the part that's edifying, and the part that makes no sense, just spit it out. It's the bones and keep moving.
I think it was her pediatrician told me that God gave us instincts just for her. So trust your instincts. God is guiding you. He's talking to you, and he already put it in you. He gave you instincts for her.
a movie that every young person will see.
There's so many good movies. I know.
That is
I forgot a movie that
I could start from a science perspective. The Lion King. Circle of Life. Yeah, so Circle of Life. That's a good one.
The Godfather. Yes. As soon as you're able, I don't even care what you say, that all the life lessons are right there in the Godfather.
They are.
Family, loyalty, how people look at people who are different. What happens if you just give into your anger and you don't stop and let somebody talk you down? Yes.
I didn't expect that one.
It's the truth. I mean,
didn't expect
you didn't
that.
say what age. I want every teenager to go see it, though.
Okay.
Do you have any family rituals?
Mm.
Ritual or something that sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Or one that you
Every single year, we go to the apple orchard. And so I have pictures of her as a baby in my father's arms at the apple orchard.
Okay.
And every day, October, she knows we're going. And we take a picture of the same place, right? So I just have this lineage for going up. And when we're there and we're feeding the ducks, it just gives us time to be quiet and to think. I'm not looking at my phone. She's not looking at her tablet. We're just sort of there. And we do it around the time of October because my father was born in October, but it's also sort of recognition of Dia de los Muertos. And so I'm thinking about my dad and talking to her about the lessons that he taught me and the things I remember, because I want her to continue to have that knowledge of him and those lessons, even though he passed before she was one.
I'm trying to think. Maybe traveling home once a year, I would say, which is so ironic that I'm saying that because it doesn't look like we're going to Texas this year. This year, my mother came in February. It looks like my dad is coming in August, and then we'll see my mother again in December, bringing Texas to me. But she had 2 great-grandparents. So my grandparents were still living. So it was very important to me for her to know my mom's father, who was still living, and my dad's mother. So we have pictures even when I was pregnant of going home. So it was like I always wanted her to know, the lineage. I was fortunate enough to know my great-grandparents. So it's like I need you to know who you are, where you've come from. And I wanted her to see the love that I have for my grandparents and the love, and great-grandparents are like, grandparents are wonderful, but great-grandparents are like really like sprinkle on top. So I wanted her to make sure she had that relationship also.
Thank you. Thank you both for that.
Oh, that was fast.
Raise exceptional ladies. And I'm so excited to see that they are going. I know how can I
Thank you. Thanks for inviting us.
Take it.
Y'all got. Do we have a clacker?